Michael Anekwe is a sophomore forward for the Lafayette Leopards. He stands 6'6" and is originally from Lagos, Nigeria. Michael had played soccer his entire life, but when he was 13, he discovered a passion for an unpopular sport in his country, basketball. And that's where his journey began.
My cousin is a priest, is a Catholic priest, and he played basketball in the seminary. And so one day he came over to the house and he was like, yeah, we're going to the basketball court. I was like, what? And he said, we're going to the basketball court. I was like, okay. And I just kept going every single day.
After discovering his passion for basketball, Michael and his mother discussed the possibility of playing for a boarding school in America. You see, in Nigeria, an education is very valuable, and Michael's mother knew he may be able to use his athletic ability to earn a quality education. After applying to 2 American schools, Michael was accepted to the Besant Hill School in California.
My first thought about an American high school would be, what you see in high school musicals. My high school was far from it. It was surrounded by mountains. We had a great basketball program, but we didn't have a basketball gym. We practiced outside. It was interesting. I loved it. I had an amazing group of people who, were always supportive. Basketball was fun. It was faster than I was used to in Nigeria. I was able to adapt just basically because of the people who were there, to support me and all that.
And those people, the coaches, the guidance counselors, and the teachers, they were the ones who helped Michael achieve his next goal. Michael wanted a college education, and of course, playing college basketball would be a nice bonus, but an education was always first. And that mindset made him the perfect fit for Lafayette.
I got in touch with somebody in the admissions department in Lafayette here. I had a conversation with him, and then they invited me to come visit the school. It was an amazing program. I visited. They offered me a full academic scholarship to come here. And so my heart was here, but I wanted to play basketball. So I reached out to Coach O, and he was like, yeah, he definitely want me to be here. So I just made the decision and came here.
Lafayette suited Michael, and he made his basketball debut as a freshman at the Palestra against the Penn Quakers.
Coming here, there's a lot of things about basketball that I actually didn't know. I had to learn a lot, especially from Coach O, who's just like a great basketball mind. Just knowing the game is more intellectual than just, physical. There's a lot of things you got to think about before you do. So that process was amazing, and it did make me fall in love with the game more.
Unfortunately, during the 2018 and 2019 season, Michael was injured, and so he didn't spend a whole lot of time on the court, but of course, he was always thinking about it. But during his downtime, he knew he had to stay busy, and that's when he had the idea for the Michael Anekwe Foundation.
We had finished practice, I went back to the locker room, and I just saw a bunch of shoes in my locker that were just sitting there. And I was like, I'm not using these, I could actually put them to good use. So I started thinking of what I could do with them. And I was like, hey, why not just put up a basketball camp when I get home this summer? Because it was actually going to be the first time I was home in 5 years.
Collecting shoes was the first step. But if the Michael Anekwe Foundation was going to successfully host a basketball camp in a country halfway around the world that had 0 basketball equipment ready for them, he was going to need some additional help. That's when he got in touch with the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. They not only helped Michael collect shoes for his camp, but they also offered to ship the shoes to him once he returned home.
I got to Nigeria on June 5th. I think the shoes arrived June 9th. June 12th is like a national holiday, and so kids don't go to school. And so I decided to do it that day and got new basketballs, just basically set up the camp together.
Once the camp was set up, the entire Anekwe family, as well as a few basketball coaches in Nigeria, jumped in to help Michael. And together, they successfully pulled off a fundamentals basketball camp for over 120 Nigerian children.
I taught them a lot of Lafayette basketball principles. Just basic fundamentals that Coach O teaches you, strong with ball, things he says every day at practice. If they have that opportunity to learn that at a very young age, they could, make it farther than I did or than whoever did. So, yeah, it was fun.
The goal for the Anekwe Foundation now is to host this camp every year. Michael has already collected more shoes than last year and says this summer he will host the Fundamental Camp once again for kids who simply enjoy the game, along with a second camp for kids with more skills who wish to have a serious future in basketball. On the scene for 2 Sports, I'm Courtney DuPont. Obviously, this story was produced prior to the pandemic taking place and us all having to social distance. So with that, I wanted to provide an update on Michael and how his foundation is doing. Originally, Michael's camp was scheduled to take place in June of this summer, but because of the pandemic, it has been pushed back to August 13th through 15th. Unfortunately, moving the date isn't the only thing that has changed for Michael and his foundation. As you saw in the video, last year Michael did a shoe drive to collect shoes for his campers. Of course, that cannot happen either because of the CDC guidelines. So instead, he is trying to raise money so that he can purchase new shoes for his campers through a GoFundMe page. You can find that page by searching "Help Us Impact the Lives of African Youth," or you can simply go on the TV2 Sports Twitter. We will be posting a direct link to that GoFundMe page. For 2 Sports, I'm Courtney DuPont. Back to you, Dan.